I think you like objectively know that's not true. Like
Yeah.
rationally you do, but I think
Yeah.
there's an emotional part of you that like grew up that way, feeling like if I am not pretty enough, if I'm not like doing all of these things, that like I'm not valuable to men. And if I'm not valuable to men, then what am I?
All right, welcome back everybody to another episode of Little Miss. For those of you who are new here, my name's Riley, and I generally do this podcast with my roommates, Taylor and Lauren, who are here. And every single week, I pick a topic of conversation that is designed to make you, the listener, feel as if you're in the room with a friend, having the same conversation that we are. This one is going to be in relation to anxious versus avoidant attachment theory with 500 Days of Summer, because I feel like that is, I talk about it all the time. Like, you guys are probably sick of hearing about it because I love that movie so much, but since this is very relevant to our life right now, and I think this movie is actually very like kind of genius, I think it matches the topic and like what we could talk about very, very well.
I think it's a good example. If someone was like, what is anxious and avoidant attachment, you could show them that movie and be like, this is obviously like a dramatized version, but like it's a good example of it.
Yes. If I keep blowing my nose, I'm a little bit sick, guys, so please don't come at me for it. Please. Don't do it. Don't do it. We'll move on. Okay, so we just rewatched the movie. Well, I rewatched it actually twice in one day because this is potentially, it's definitely my top 5. It could potentially be my favorite movie of all time. But this podcast is also going to be interesting because I am very much relate to both depending on like what phase of my life I've been in, but mostly I relate to Tom because I'm a very anxious avoidant attachment style.
You're anxious attachment style.
Again, I'm sick, guys. Anxious attachment style, and both Taylor and Lauren relate more to the avoidant side of it, which we'll get into a lot of like, is that really accurate? Is that actually like how they are, or is it just people they're dating, like that kind of thing? So we will talk about that. Do you guys think I should read like a definition of anxious versus avoidant?
Yeah.
Because I feel like maybe some people don't understand necessarily what it is.
True. If you haven't ever like read those books, or like if you aren't super internet literate, you might not know.
Also, I think, Lauren, you brought up a good point when we were watching the movie that back in like 2009 when it was made, people didn't really know those terms so much.
Yeah, it was more like niche, I guess. Like now people throw those terms around a lot, but at the time that wasn't something people were talking about.
Yeah, I don't think even when they made that movie, that was probably like what they had in mind. Yes. I don't think they made that were like, yeah, she is avoidant and he is anxious. I think they were like, he's in love with her and she's not in love with him.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch in our current landscape.
Okay, this is just like the Google very simple definition, which, by the way, I really learned about this from the book Attached. And since I've read that like 5 years ago, I've looked for more media that describes it as well as it does, and I haven't found anything since then. So yeah,
I've never read that.
Yeah, I can't remember the author's name, but it has the magnet on the front. Everyone knows what it is. It's literally the only good book that has attachment styles. Okay, but Google says anxious attachment involves a deep fear of abandonment, leading to clingy behavior and a desperate need for constant reassurance and intimacy. First of all,
rude.
Hey, first of all, I'm gonna blow up my spot.
First of all,
hey, foot on your neck.
Conversely, avoidant attachment features a high value on independence, emotional distancing, and discomfort with intimacy. Together, they create an anxious avoidant trap where pursuit triggers withdrawal, which is crazy that it just labels withdrawal, and I still know exactly what they mean by that. Yeah, I think it's actually really accurate, despite that being a horrible point of reference. Okay, so now we're getting into 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah.
Should we briefly recap the movie for people that don't know what it's like about?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm like, for people that haven't seen it probably 30 times, me.
For people who don't watch it multiple times in one day.
Yeah. So basically, the movie starts, and it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays Tom, and they're all in this really slay like area of maybe Chicago. I think we were talking about like what city it is, but it's very much like, oh, there's all these fun little bars, and like I work in an office, and and this is I can afford to live off a receptionist job. Yeah. And Tom, actually, when I rewatched this after my breakup was a month ago, but I rewatched this last week. I started crying, not at any point in the movie other than the beginning part, because they start it where they play like this montage of Tom and Summer as little kids next to each other. And I was like, that's kind of genius. And something about that got me.
Yeah.
But anyway, whatever. So they end up in Chicago. It's so cool. And basically they start the movie by saying like Tom believes in soulmates. And like Tom believes that he will find the one.
He believes like things happen for a reason and
Yes.
that like you're meant to be with somebody.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I hate being an anxious or an anxious attachment. I keep saying that. An anxious attachment style, because that really does, it like sits on the idea of finding the one. And I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm like at war with myself, because I actually don't believe in that. And still every single part of me is an anxious attachment style.
I will say, like, I think the movie is good as far as like showing both of those attachment styles. I do not relate to everything that Summer does.
Yeah.
You know, like just because like I do think that I am avoidant in relationships does not mean that I think I completely relate to like everything Summer does.
Okay,
And I think that's the same could be said for you and Tom, where like you are more anxious in relationships, but like I don't think you believe in soulmates or like everything happens for a reason. I just think that sort of the movie sets up Tom's like anxiety in relation to that. That's like why he's anxious, but like I don't think that has to be a part of it.
So Tom, and I've done this before, but like Summer walks in and he goes, "Oh, that's the love of my life." And they're both working at this like greeting card place, and she's the receptionist.
Or she's the assistant.
Her assistant, whatever, yeah. And so they work together for a while, and the first time that Tom sees her, he goes, "That's literally the love of my life. How crazy."
No conversation.
No,
has been had.
They have not spoken.
They've not spoken. Been there, by the way. And then he's like, his friends convince him, and he convinces his friend. It was like this weird, like they do it to each other, honestly, where they're like, "No, like she's stuck up. Like I can't even believe she'd never talk to you." And then they're in the elevator, and she goes, "I love the Smiths." He has it on his headphones. "I love the Smiths." And then he goes, "What?"
He said, "Oh."
And he goes, "Oh my gosh, she has a personality. I couldn't believe it." Again, the amount of times in media where men discover that women have personalities is crazy.
Women have
He
like
thinks-
interests and like things they like.
Yeah.
Like, they both like the same very popular song, and he thinks that that's like a sign.
Yeah. Okay. And then I do. It's not really relevant to the podcast because we're talking about attachment styles, but the cinematography of 500 Days of Summer is very cool, and the way that they like flash back and forward and all of that. But they flash back and forward, but essentially if you're following the linear timeline, like it goes very well in the beginning, and they seem she's very interested in him, and she's very much like she likes him at first, and before they even ever start doing what they're doing, they have a conversation at a bar where she's like, "I don't want a boyfriend," and he goes, "I believe in love." I know what you're thinking. They probably don't go past that.
They would not pursue it further.
Yeah, because neither of them
do.
have the same values in any way.
And they do, and they end up like having this weird. They were the OG situationship, like, yeah.
Again, before the term situationship had been coined,
Yes.
they were doing that.
Yes.
And midway through the movie, they get into a fight where she's like, "We're not like together," and he's like, "Well, if we're not together, I don't know what we are, because we are doing everything as boyfriend and girlfriend,"
Which is true.
Yeah, and like he's not wrong for that. We'll get into like where he is wrong for things later, but like I do understand why he felt that way.
Yeah.
But
so they go through their whole like hot and cold like situationship thing where Tom basically gets like just dragged behind a truck for a while. Again, been there, baby. Me and Tom. And then they like break up for a while, and then they come back together at a wedding, and she does the same thing. I do think they do a great job of illustrating the fact that it never changes.
Yeah.
Like you think that the older you get and the more like experience you have, like somehow this dynamic will change, and it never does. But she literally, the whole theory or like the theme throughout the movie is that Summer does not want to get married. Summer does not want a boyfriend. Summer does not want commitment. And then it's like pretty devastating because the last time he sees her, she has gotten married. And she did find someone, and she
Just wasn't him.
Yes. And she said, which by the way, what is with every toxic avoidant person ever being like, "No, I want that, not with you."
Like,
Why are you talking? Why do we have to say it?
Just to twist the knife.
Yeah.
everything I was never sure of with you, I was sure of with him.
Okay.
Just so you know, I will be getting married.
Yeah, me when I can't find my Glock. Like, oh my god. Yeah, and then that's basically the end, is that she finds her happy ending, and Tom goes off and potentially meets someone. It ends where he meets someone named Autumn, which is like my only part of the movie I don't really like. But
But like, he meets somebody else, and it's sort of like
a new beginning.
a new beginning for him. And she does like share his same values where she's like, oh, I do believe everything happens for a reason. And I'm
That's
like,
true.
oh, I hope
Yeah.
that you guys have weird little astrology babies together.
Yeah.
You freaks.
Yeah, Virgo babies. Okay, so that is the premise of the movie, and now we'll be breaking it down. And did I type into chat a few questions for us to answer? Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So what?
Of course. Are we going to make them our own? Obviously.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
Do you think, because we were just talking about how at the end Tom finds someone who it seems is more aligned with him.
Right.
This movie is very much about an avoidant and an anxious. Do you think that like an anxious and an anxious or an avoidant works better? Of course, like you're
That's a
shooting
great
for a
question.
normal and a normal.
Right.
But do you think
We always are.
never gets there, but
Right.
that's
Yeah.
what you're aiming for?
Yeah.
Do you think anxious and avoidant is like the worst possible combo?
I do think that is the worst possible combo.
I do think they're the
Yeah.
two most often drawn to each other, though.
Can you guys think of an avoidant, anxious? I would love to find an anxious attachment style like me.
See, it actually seems like it would
No.
work well.
You wouldn't like it.
Really?
I think you would find them unbearable.
You would grow weary.
You grow weary of them.
One time, like last year, I was talking to Lauren about someone that liked me, and I was like, I just feel like I should be into it. I was like, I just feel like I really gotta get there.
Like, should I try it? Like,
I was like, he has all these things, and we're by the pool, and she goes, listen, he's not as smart as you. You would grow weary of him.
Riley, you'd grow weary.
I do think
And I
about that.
stand by
Yeah,
it.
and I would, and I did. So, yeah, you think I would just get sick of it, or what?
No, I think anxious just creates a whirlpool of anxiety. I don't think it actually makes either party feel better. I think they're both just continue to be anxious.
Yeah.
I think avoidant with avoidant just means you never get together.
I was just gonna say, avoidant doesn't happen.
yeah,
Yeah,
there is no
Because you
relationship.
both, I name
Yeah.
one time that's ever happened.
No. I think
Zero pursuit.
there is none. I think the reason that anxious avoidant does tend to happen a lot is because there is a chemistry that comes with that. It's not like healthy long term, but I do think there's a chemistry of like the back and forth, the push and pull that does like create the initial spark for the relationship.
Okay, but like, here's a thought. So, I'm not going to say which ex did this to me.
Yeah, she's not gonna like go into
gonna
details.
talk
Or
It could be
Nice.
any. It could be any.
It could be any, before anyone blows up my phone. But I definitely did have a man say once, I don't want to speak to you every single day. So, but do you feel like he needed an avoidant to where they also wouldn't want to speak to him every single day?
I don't think he would be attracted to an avoidant.
And
Interesting.
that is
I think that's the
tricky part.
like yeah, I think the movie has this like really clean ending of like Tom finds somebody who like aligns with his values and then they just ride off into the sunset together theoretically.
Yeah.
And we don't know who Summer's like person she ends up with. We never meet them on screen. But like, or I guess it doesn't matter. We don't like interact with him on screen.
He's not really a character.
Yeah. But like that's sort of a clean ending. We don't really know
Yeah.
how that works out long term. But I think in real life, avoidants like to be chased. An avoidant personality likes to be pursued, but they don't like to be tied down. I think it's a paradox. I don't think it's like good. But I think an anxious, on the other hand, likes to pursue. I don't think an anxious likes to be pursued. So I think it creates this toxic paradox.
Wait.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
I think an anxious personality type likes to have to work for it. It makes them feel like it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like they're like earning it kind of. And then like I think if somebody like pursued an anxious personality type the same way they were pursuing somebody else, they'd be like, you need to back up.
You need to step off.
Yeah.
Okay, that is interesting. Sorry, I'm pulling up the list.
I don't know if that's true. That's just my thoughts.
Well, I do think you're an astute person, and I do think you're generally right. So that is interesting.
I think the ideal, of course, is like two people who are secure attachment styles, or at the very least, somebody who is a secure attachment style with somebody who is the other.
Yeah, I do think that is. Yeah, I think the book talks about that like if you are anxious or avoidant, you just need to find secure.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, considering the fact I've dated like 95% avoidant men, I know that too. Where whenever anyone asks me like, "Oh, I know you have an anxious personality like attachment. Like, how do you deal with that?" I'm like, I just break up with whoever, as if I would. I'm like, I should just break up with any avoidant man because it just never worked. Okay, here's a question from chat. Do avoidant partners mean to hurt people, or are they avoiding vulnerability? And you guys, again, both those girls identify as like avoidant.
I think it's person dependent, but
I very much identify as avoidant. I'll say that to the camera. I don't think Lauren is avoidant, actually.
Do you not?
I do not.
Okay.
This is interesting.
I think Lauren is much closer to a secure attachment style than either of us. I think we're both basket cases. And I mean that like good, but like
With
we're on
love.
very opposite ends of a spectrum, and Lauren is the closest to like somewhere in the middle.
Which makes sense in all our other aspects.
Yeah. Like obviously no one's perfect in relationships, and I think Lauren's younger than us and has not had as many relationships, so like that's something she'll figure out as she like moves through life. But I think Lauren actually has a pretty healthy attachment style with like her family and friends and like us and like people that she interacts with. I don't think Lauren is like actually like a true avoidant attachment like I am.
I've said many times though, Taylor, that I also would avoid the men you've dated. We've had
actually, yes. So
we've
maybe
had
we don't
this
know if Taylor is a
conversation
true
many
avoidant.
times where Taylor's like, I am a true avoidant, and I'm like, yeah, I also would like literally dodge those men in the street.
True. I
I
will
also would try to not be alone in an alley with them, you know?
Yeah. I will say that is like, I think a part of like the avoidant personality that people don't always talk about of like, am I actually avoidant? Like, do I not want to be in any relationship, or do I not want to be in these relationships? Is it like this relationship that I don't want to be a part of, or is it any relationship?
Yeah.
And I think the movie kind of answers it with Summer is obviously avoidant in her relationship with Tom. And maybe it's just that she matures and like grows into herself. But also when she meets somebody she does want to be in a relationship with, she's able to do that. So part of it is that she didn't want to be in a relationship with Tom.
Yeah.
Part of it is Tom.
Part of it is Tom.
Yeah.
What do you think? And it's hard for us because like none of us are married. So maybe, hey, shout out, comment if you want me to have an avoidant on that got married. But I do think it's like so iconic, that scene where she goes like, yeah, it's just like, I realized I wanted everything that you wanted, just not with you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think snaps in an avoidant's head to where they just get married? And I've thought about
We've
this
talked
too.
about this before, yeah.
Yeah, we have. And I honestly have no idea. Other than the fact that, like, actually, let me say that I think I do have a theory. I think my only possible theory is that they just get to an age where they're like, I understand. It's like more like logic than emotion, where it's like, I understand that I do need to be married.
Maybe if they've been through enough relationships,
Yeah.
they just meet as secure and like.
Oh, that's interesting.
That feeds into them like the appropriate amount of attention they want, but without the anxiety.
They don't feel like trapped down. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, we've never done it. So
Waiting for that success story.
yeah.
I have a hot take on this. It's controversial. I don't know if this is true.
Share, spill.
I think part of it definitely could be just timing, or they meet a secure attachment style and that makes a big difference. Like that's all possible. I also think all of the avoidant attachment style people that I know who actually get married are men.
Well, it is kind of like the taxi cab theory too. With I usually see that being applied to men, where they just decide that they want to be married. Again, I don't know what flicks the switch.
Yeah.
And then it's like just whoever, like the next person, they will
And
just
they're like,
marry.
okay, I'm ready. I'm going to be married.
I would like a wife.
And I think men are able to do that. And I think, I'm not saying like it's I'm sure there are women that I'm just not thinking of, but I think women are just much better at like maintaining a solo relationship where like they really don't need a man. Like they have community, they have friends, they have hobbies and like things that they value in their lives outside of a relationship. And like, it's not like they're never lonely, but like they do build a life outside of needing a man that like, I don't know if they do get married.
So you think Summer was low-key the outlier, not the rule?
I think, yeah. I think Summer was
exception,
the
not the rule.
outlier. And I think she was a part of like the story of the movie. And I don't know if that happens as much in real life, where like an avoidant woman turns that around.
Well, I also just
I think
don't
they can, but
Yeah, I agree. But I also think statistically there's just far less avoidant women.
yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of like women in male fields.
Yeah, it is.
I think men need women more than women need men.
100%.
So
Yeah.
men, even avoidant men, do, I think, a lot reach a point in their lives where they're like, I don't want to be by myself. I don't want to like have to like maintain this life by myself anymore. And even if they marry someone they don't really like, they just don't want to be alone anymore.
Nightmare fuel. Nightmare fuel.
May that love never find
Blood
me.
rotation. It's you and the wife that you chose.
But again, a lot of times it's more about like loneliness than it is
Yeah.
about like happiness. And I
Yeah.
think women, even when they are lonely, will find happiness in other things.
Yeah.
And men, no shade, are not as good at that.
What was
saying
that?
No shade when I
When
mean
it's super
shade.
shady. What was that clip we were just listening to? And they're like, women understand community.
Yes.
And like more than men do.
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like women will build a community elsewhere if they
Yeah.
do not have a partner. And men will, I think they'll have friends and stuff. It's not like they're completely alone, but like they won't have that same level of community. And eventually they will just kind of crack.
Yeah. That was good, Taylor.
Yeah.
I was
job,
really thinking about that, what you just said. I was really thinking about that.
Feel free to argue with me in the comments about it, but
Yeah.
that is what I personally think.
Yeah. Was Summer emotionally unavailable or just emotionally self-protective? And I think that brings like more of a larger question of like, do avoidants in general, are they emotionally unavailable or are they just protective of themselves?
I mean, when Summer's like explaining like why she feels that way, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it tie back to like her parents got a divorce, or like wasn't just kind of like the way she was brought up? She never like saw that, like she doesn't believe in like true love because of the way she was raised, right?
Yes, her parents were divorced, but so were Tom's.
True.
I actually think I do. I have a lot of
No, go on,
thoughts
yeah.
this. I think anxious and avoidant attachment styles often come from the same traumas. They just react to it differently.
It is like a coping mechanism.
Yes. Where both people come from like in the movie, for example, they both come from a situation where their parents got divorced, which is traumatic as a child. And Tom's reaction was like, true love is real. And like, you just have to like work hard for it. And like, once you find it, you have to hold on to it. You can't let it go. And Summer's reaction was, true love is not real. That's not like a real thing. And you just accept that and stop trying. Because I actually think Riley and I went through, not like the same, but like somewhat similar traumas in our teen years with men, of kind of feeling like that sense of abandonment. Like they weren't going to stick around. And I think Riley, not with our parents, obviously our parents were never divorced or anything like that, but in our relationships. Yeah. And Riley's reaction has always been to like, feel like men are going to abandon her, so she holds on tighter.
Like, don't let them go.
And mine is men probably will leave, so I'm going to leave first.
Beat them.
Like, I'm going to not get emotionally invested in this because like I just don't think you're going to be around.
Do you think that came from our relationships? Or are you talking about like pre-relationships? Like, I'll cut it out, but you talk about...
No, I was not talking about it.
Okay.
I do think you had more trauma than I did from being sexualized so young by so many young men, and not adults necessarily, but just like other teenagers in our group who did sexualize you really early on.
Yeah.
And I do think that distorted like your love map a little bit, and like how you view relationships as like kind of transactionary, and like why you have to like present yourself in a certain way in order to like have a man's validation.
This is a shocking episode for me.
No, one thing about Taylor is she will like read you for filth. Like,
No, I know.
You don't
and
have to
I'm
keep that
actually
in.
like,
Yeah,
no, I am gonna keep it in, but like, this is literally me right now. I thought I was gonna be like, yeah, well, Summer should have kept those boundaries. Like, now I'm like, my love map might have been distorted at 15. I don't know.
this is me and Taylor breaking down like the all of our traumas while you're at work at like 1 a.m. Taylor
You guys
just
flip
reading
on
me for
Muppets
filth.
Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I guess I hadn't. This has been like very confusing to me dating as an adult, because everything I read about anxious attachment is like, you went through the worst trauma of your life and now you have to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I had a perfectly normal
You're like, did I?
Literally, I'm like, did I? Like, I have nothing but good parents, but I do have this very, very like strong streak in me to believe that every man will leave me ever. Which, by the way, we're about 100 from 100.
You always trust me with tuition.
Yeah, and I'm never wrong.
She's batting 100.
Yeah, I'm batting 100 on that. Except for my papa.
But yeah, that is the thing. It's actually rare to still have both of your parents be together.
Yeah.
But that's not like the only kind of
Yes.
trauma that you can
And I
face.
really hadn't thought about anything beyond that.
And obviously, like, our childhood is good, as you said. Like, you know, people have much more traumatic childhoods than we did. But there are still, I think, situations that occurred early on in your formative years as a teenager when you're kind of like figuring out who you are and like who you're going to be as an adult woman. And I think those things did shape you into feeling like your worldview of men. And like that basically men not will leave you. Like, I don't think that's quite the right phrase, but that men that your validation is linked to a man's view of you.
And I do unfortunately believe that.
Yeah.
Although I'm trying to snap on
Yeah.
that.
And I
doing the
think
work.
you like I think you like objectively know that's not true. Like
Yeah.
rationally you do, but I think
Yeah.
there's an emotional part of you that like grew up that way, feeling like if I am not pretty enough, if I'm not like doing all of these things, that like I'm not valuable to men. And if I'm not valuable to men, then what am I?
And truly that is like
So it's important for you to like maintain, like hold on to the relationship because there will be like a dip in your self-worth if you're not
If a man
getting
does
the
not,
validation. If a man
Exactly.
was like, you weren't good enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
If a man's like, oh, well, you're not giving me what I need, then you're like, then I'm not worth anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because so many men have told me that.
Yeah. Which is, and like
I
that's,
think it is funny that I'm like, I have to prevent this at all costs.
Yeah.
And it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like,
Which is
it's
brutal.
Crazy.
It is genuinely astounding. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And again,
I
it's back to
do-
them being avoidant.
True.
I do think there is, not that it's any excuse for the way that any man has ever treated you, by the way. Like, they're all
Period.
nasty, nasty men. They are nasty, nasty little boys. But I do think there's something to the idea of the self-fulfilling prophecy, where if you treat somebody like they're going to leave,
Yeah.
then eventually when they do leave, you're like, see, I was right. I knew you
Yeah.
were going to leave the whole time. And I don't think I don't think there's anything you could have done differently to like change the outcome, nor do I think you should have, because they all suck. But I do think there is something to kind of figuring out like whether you leave or not, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And like I don't need to like center my world around you either way.
Yeah. I'm getting there. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Bars.
thanks.
This is just turning into therapy with Taylor.
I know. This is actually what we do on the couch every single day.
Yeah, this is actually a very realistic
Yeah,
look.
we haven't gotten into my toxic traits yet though, so factor that in.
I guess I was thinking about this too last night because we went out for drinks with one of our friends who I don't know if she necessarily relates to being anxious all the time, but we were talking a lot about her when she met her husband. And I just think the whole like, I know like relationships are just different each time, but when she started dating her husband, she talked about how like anxious he was and she needed him near her like all the time. And
Right.
like,
Like she had trauma she was working
yes,
through,
and very
she,
rightfully so, but she felt like very
Yeah.
much like I need this person with me all the time. Like
Or
if
he'll break up with me.
Yes,
Yeah.
like if he leaves me, it just physically, then he will leave me
Mm-hmm.
altogether. And I've heard her talk about this before, and last night I was thinking like, yeah, I relate to that. But like, how did she get married and I got dumped
I think
4
it's,
times in a row?
which by the way, uncool.
Yeah,
There's no excuse for that.
yeah,
I think she found a secure attachment style.
yeah,
Like, I just think he is a person who is neither anxious nor avoidant and
Yeah.
was able to be like, this is the person I want to be with, and I'm just going to like
Which is a rare
match
pull.
her
Yeah.
energy and like figure out how to make this work.
yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. And I think that's also the thing where I hate that people are like kind of like the word gaslighting, throwing around like anxious versus avoidant these days, and they're just like, yeah, you're avoidant. First of all, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
You're
But
anxious.
I'm gonna come
First of
for
all,
you.
I'm actually gonna bury you alive. And second of all, this does matter.
Yeah.
Like there are very like obviously real life situations where this is clearly there's a distinction, you know?
Yeah.
I do think people sometimes throw around both those terms really loosely when it's mostly just like oh, somebody didn't want to date me, so therefore they must be
You're
avoidant.
The same way they do with like gaslight or like
Yes.
narcissists or like
Yeah, like, oh, you didn't want to be with me, so you must be avoidant. Oh, they were anxious, and that's
Yeah.
why like I broke up with them. But like
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, like maybe it's just that you didn't want to be with that person, or maybe
Yeah.
they just didn't want to be with you. Maybe it's not that they had like a weird attachment; it's just that they didn't want to date you. Sorry,
that just didn't work out.
or you didn't want to date them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you don't have to like make excuses for it. Like it's just
Yeah.
it wasn't right.
I do want to get into your toxic traits because you just said that, but I do want to specify that I think that anxious attachment, sometimes we get like a really clingy, like people say that we're really clingy. And every time I read books, they're like, oh, when you blow up their phone like 6 billion times.
Yeah.
Or like you ask all their friends like where they're at if you can't find them on like Find My or something. I guess it's always been also hard for me to like strongly relate to being anxious in those ways because I've never done that.
Yeah.
It's very confusing to me because I'm like, yeah, I want to know where you're at. I've never once ever in my entire life blown up someone's phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're not like excessive.
I think
about
it's because you're self-aware.
Oh my gosh. Kind of like how like you guys have never ghosted someone.
No,
it. Yeah. Yeah, actually.
Where
That's a
it's-
great point.
And let's give Lauren the credit where she's due. Hold on, I'm going to open up the door.
It's hot.
Okay, what were we talking about?
How like you don't relate to anxious people like blowing up people's phones, or like we might be more on the avoidance side. We've never ghosted anyone.
Yes. And I think that is like tricky where people say with like personality tests or like whatever you would call this or factor this in of like, oh, you can't ever categorize someone. And like, I guess that's, I do believe that we have like slots that we fit in, but obviously there is a spectrum and
Yeah.
it is hard to like completely relate to the anxious side of it when it's like, yeah, I've clearly like never stuck a freaking air tag onto your truck
Yeah.
tire, you know, like.
We're also all self-aware, and I do think that you can become more secure. And if you're aware that like I'm anxious,
True.
you're like thinking of that through your actions, and you are like, I'm not gonna do that. Because like I would in theory love to ghost someone. Like in theory that sounds, oh, I don't have to deal with
Yeah.
it. But like I don't actually want to inflict pain on another person. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like we can still try to do better, and we do care about other people. So you're not gonna like blow up someone's phone because you're like, I don't want to make them uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
there's a self-awareness that goes into it.
yeah, you can. We do think about how our actions affect other people. So
Yeah.
even if you relate to one, that doesn't necessarily mean you're
Yeah.
gonna do all that.
No,
Yeah.
it's true. Maybe we're just women.
Yeah.
Huh.
I do also think part of it is just like we all grow and change through our life, and like we figure out certain things, and you know,
Yeah.
nobody's just actually locked into a box. Like
Yeah.
we are all still accountable for our own choices, no matter what our like base is. I was thinking about it though, with like an avoidant, you were kind of talking about like why do they eventually get married?
Yeah.
Like why do they eventually like lock into it? They're like, yeah, let's do this thing. I think it's probably the same thing that happens for somebody who
Stop. I'll
Guys.
kill you guys. I just
Don't-
got airflow in here. Don't piss me off.
and then they're gonna do their weird little thing.
And I hate this thing that you guys do. Bug. And Taylor was right on the edge of something. Stop.
What I was gonna say is that I think the same thing happens when an anxious attachment style person gets married, is that they just meet somebody who doesn't make them feel anxious.
And they meet someone that doesn't make them feel avoidant.
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess I do understand that, except at least from my personal experience, it's like, oh my God, does speaking every day make you avoidant?
Well,
Like
they
how do
are.
they-
That's. I'm not
I know,
giving
but,
them
like 4
grace
times
for
the
that.
charm is crazy, but it's kind of like, okay, so you guys like, so having basic human contact every day is an issue.
Yeah.
Hey, good luck.
No,
But
that's
they always manage to do it. Again, I used to say, it used to be like a joke to me, I'd be like, yeah, I don't really date men with half of a foot in the altar.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're all married.
It did
Yeah,
work.
I'm definitely the odd man out on that.
I do know what you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah.
You have had a horrible roster. Like I'm not like giving them a pass on any of that at all. I just think when you actually date somebody who is a more secure attachment style, will not make you feel anxious.
Yeah.
They will like give you the reassurance you need without like it turning into a tornado of just like mutual anxiety.
Yeah.
And like, because I think that is the other side of it, where if you date somebody who is also anxious, they're like, where are you at? Who are you with? Like, oh, who's that? Because I think You date people when you're kind of with them and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to hang out with my friends. You kind of list their names, like, oh, who's that? Is that a boy's name? A boy? Who's the boy? Have you ever talked to him before? Oh, who's that? And like that creates anxiety in you too. Of like, okay, now I have to like be hyper aware of like every man I'm ever hanging out with, and then it creates the tornado of anxiety. Yeah. But if you're dating somebody who's secure, they're like, okay, cool, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
But then like they do check in with you and they give you like the validation you need. And then both of you together don't need to like have that either dynamic.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
That. No, it does. It's just hard to picture in reality. It's like seeing a wildebeest walk down Main Street.
It's a unicorn.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be sick if only giraffes were real. That kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, okay, I think shockingly, we've already been talking for a while. Let's everyone list a couple of you feel like you're more toxic traits that maybe you relate to the movie or not, whatever, and then list maybe something you're working on, and then we'll wrap it up. And if we need to, we'll do a part 2 because again, shockingly, we're at 43 minutes.
Okay. Is there any other questions from like the chat that you want to like get into?
I already got into a few of those.
Okay. I think I do relate pretty strongly to Summer. There are things I don't relate to her in that she was very callous with Tom's feelings.
And I think that is a very classic avoidant stereotype is that they're callous.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily have to be.
Like she knew how Tom felt and she did ignore all of that to basically like have what she wanted.
Yeah.
I do relate to her though in that she did like him.
Yeah.
Like, it was never that she didn't like Tom. Like she liked having him around. She was interested in like his hobbies and his architecture and like all those things she liked. And like that's why she wanted to like try. That's why she tried with Tom more than she'd ever tried with anyone else. She did put in time and effort. And even when they had that fight about like, I don't know, like what are we? And he's like, we're dating. Like that's what we are. And like they could have ended there, but she like shows up at his house.
Yeah, and that was when the movie switched for me.
And she was like, actually, I do want to like try. And I relate to that where I'm like, there are people that I've met in my life where I'm like, I don't know. I'm really on the fence about it. And like, I could go either way, but I do like a lot of things about you.
Yeah.
I like your interests and I like the things you want to talk to me about. And I do enjoy you as a person. But then like actually dating you makes me incredibly stressed. And like, I don't like our interactions actually as a dating couple, but I do try because I like enjoy you.
Yeah.
So I think that part of Summer I really related to. I also think I related to Summer in that Tom loves to do this thing where he basically looked for all these signs and like looked at all of Summer's actions as like, oh, these are all the reasons that like she's super into me. Is this going to work out? But he never listened to like the words she said.
Yeah.
Like she told him multiple times like how she felt and like she didn't want to be in a relationship. And Tom said,
he heard what he wanted to hear.
Yeah. And that's really frustrating to be on the other side of that. Of like, even if like maybe I'm not handling this perfectly and I'm giving you more attention than I should, I did tell you.
Yeah.
I told you this isn't what I wanted and you just aren't listening.
No, I do agree with that. I think I said during our rewatch, like Tom heard everything, but no.
Yes, he heard everything, but I don't want to do this.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that is like a very dangerous thing for often, I mean, well, whatever. But yeah, I think that's a very dangerous thing to do.
And I think all women, not just anxious or avoidant, but all women at some point in their life have been in a situation where a man is projecting a fantasy onto them.
Yeah.
Where it's not necessarily real. It's just that they're projecting like what they think is real onto you. Like who they think you are. And it's not
necessarily accurate.
It's not accurate. It's just what they want to be accurate. And it's frustrating to be on the other side of that of like, I don't know what you want from me. Yeah. Because this is all in your head. Literally. And again, Tom is not completely in the wrong. Not everything he thought was in his head. But when they do like the shot at the end where like all these things he remembered.
Yeah.
But then they like kind of do like the reality of it and like her point of view of it. And like, it was never as great as he thought it was.
It was never going as smoothly as he thought.
Which is crazy because I relate to that so hard. I really do. That was good. Tell me something that you're working on or like something that you'd like to see improvement in yourself in this area. I think that also is an important part of just the topic of anxious versus avoidant, the movie in general is like, what are we improving on?
I think honestly, I have many times in my life really tried to make it work with somebody that I was not actually that into.
Yeah.
I think what I'm working on in this season of my life is not getting that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically like not like if I'm not really into somebody and there's things that I already see as like this probably isn't going anywhere, not letting it go anywhere, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
But no, I think it does. I actually do agree with that, where I always tell people that, like, and Taylor's present for this, and all I can talk about it behind her back, but I say often that Taylor skipped the talking phase.
Yeah.
Where Taylor just kind of dates someone and is like, we're official, and then later it ends up poorly. Yeah, I think it would be, I think that's very true of like ending it before it gets there.
Yeah. Of just being like, you know what, actually, I don't think we need to like take that next step. I think we're good.
I agree.
And I think that's a mistake Summer makes with Tom, where she likes him.
Yeah.
She doesn't like him enough, and I think she knew that from the start.
I do agree. I don't think Summer is the villain of the movie. I do think she was inherently selfish.
Yeah.
Summer is selfish, and so is Tom.
Yeah.
They're both selfish.
They both are. In when I was relaying like just the movie in general, and I said like, oh yeah, Summer says that she doesn't want a relationship, and Tom says he only believes in like true love. You'd
Like
think they would
soulmates.
never talk again, and yeah, they both.
But
are,
she
like,
does like the
They
attention.
both are the blind
and-
emoji.
Yeah.
Getting one of those. Yeah.
She likes him, and she likes the attention, and he genuinely is projecting this like fantasy onto her of like, this is the only person I'll ever be happy with, which was never accurate. It was just like the way he saw her.
Lauren, what's a toxic trait you feel like you have and something you're working on?
I don't know if it relates to the movie specifically, but I feel like I can struggle in general and in relationships with like vulnerability.
Yeah.
I'm like really bad at, like, I'm always like, no, like it's fine. Like I'm cool. I'm chill, nonchalant.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
like
yeah.
everything's just funny. Like I'm always just like making it a
Yes.
joke.
It's a
like,
bit.
yeah, I'm bad about actually being, I guess, yeah, just vulnerable. That's something I could work on. And I feel like that makes it hard for other people to get close to me, and not really with friendships, mostly in like a romantic way.
Yeah.
And then I have gotten feedback that they feel like confused because there's like kind of a push and a pull. So that can be toxic. That's something I could
Fair. Yeah.
work
Fair.
on for sure. And then I understand what you're saying, where like you should be in contact with someone every day that you're dating, but I tend more towards like I just get really busy with my own life, and I am okay to just go like hours without checking in, and like that is something I could improve on.
I do like talking about this because I feel like we're taking not only living together but all of our shared dating experiences and like bouncing it off each other and being like, yeah, like maybe I could do better on that.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
think that's
telling you
fair.
guys, I've told them in person, but I like telling everyone now that like I've learned more from avoidance dating watching Lauren and Taylor date than I ever did than any man I've ever dated.
Because you get like
Yeah.
the inside perspective
Yes,
of like
it's never
their
been,
thought process on it.
Literally, no one has ever communicated to me as well as just watching them date. And it actually has been like low-key traumatizing to like be like, oh, I wish I'd done that differently.
Because we're like, oh my god, like this is making me feel
Yes.
this way, and you're like, oh,
Yeah. No, literally. And I'm like, it actually would have taken about 20 seconds for them to say that, so I can't feel like too bad. But also, yeah, I've learned
communication
so
is
much.
always something that
Yeah.
I feel like everyone can work on. Just
Yeah.
like, because the avoidant people that you've dated could have just said that.
They could have just said that. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
And then I think the anxious attachment, people tend to not say things because they're afraid of losing the other person. So like they also smother their like needs and anxieties rather than voice them until it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think both things can be true where communication is a problem.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Okay. Something that's toxic. I'm like, I can't think of anything. No, I think that's something that's like very toxic that I do that Tom also does is like I daydream a lot. And I'm like about everything. And so I think sometimes when I even have like a crush or when I first start dating someone, I put them in a scenario that they don't need to be in. And I like kind of have conversations with them that they never had. And like I don't even realize I'm doing it, but I'll catch myself like driving or like thinking about this topic, or I'll just have like a fun date idea and I'll be like, oh, this is what we should do. And then I'll like fill in the blanks. And then later I'm like, you're actually psychotic.
But then like
You're
they
like, this
can't
is-
live up to the
Yeah.
perfect.
This is
Yeah.
not going the way that I rehearsed in my head.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do know that's like very toxic of me. So I would like to Yeah, I know that's like not good. And then I feel like something I'm working on is A, that, and also B, something in my last relationship I really tried to do was like, it didn't help, by the way. I'm like, hey, by the way, not
Didn't help.
successful.
Boo.
Was like have less of a think tank about stuff, because when you have an anxious attachment style, my first instinct with everything is to be like, well, what do you think he's up to? Like I would talk to you guys about it, not just with my last boyfriend, with others too, where I'd be like, well, like, what do you think he's doing? Like, do you guys think he's like busy? Like, do you guys think
Does
and
he
I
hate
still
me?
literally, and I still do that sometimes. Like, I don't think that'll ever fully go away, but I very much am working on being like, no, I'm gonna like sit with this myself. Like, I don't need other people to tell me that he's not actively cheating on me. My like idea is like, oh, he's probably like, I don't know, like out with like 6 hookers out on like a motorcycle gang doing like cocaine,
Right.
probably, right?
It's been like 3 hours.
Obviously.
It's been like 30 minutes. And I was like, okay. Yeah, so that's like I'm trying to work on that myself. And then they respond like 5 minutes later. And they were at school.
And they were fine.
They were
And then-
attacked.
They were taking a nap.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, interesting.
My bad.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was a good episode.
Yeah.
I feel like we all learned a lot.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the podcast got to see me just listen to Taylor for a while, because this
This is a very
Again,
real glimpse.
I don't
Yeah.
know that anything I said is actually like valid. Like,
she said, and
everyone's-
like,
It was all valid.
well, I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. It's just my thoughts.
yeah, I don't know. If you guys like this, let us know. We can do like a part 2, because we'll have a lot to talk about.
I do
surely.
think there's a lot of things like we didn't even get into in the
I know
movie.
it feels like we could keep going, but I'm so sleepy, and we should do a part 2.
I'm down.
But if you like this podcast, please like, comment, share with your friends. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Instagram is Little Miss Podcast Official. TikTok is Little Miss, I think, Little Miss Official, something like that. You'll find it.
Figure it out.
Yeah, you guys are adults. You'll figure it out.
You can just put like the little thing in the video.
I'm like, yeah,
correct it.
yeah.
And if you're watching this is probably, if I get it done in time, the first episode with my new cover photo, which is so fun. Woo! Which means if you just search Little Miss, I'm sure that it'll come up with a photo of me. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.